Hello, everyone. It is Heather, and this is Heather Travels, and it is time for our May live stream. If you have been watching my channel for a while, or if you have watched the video 10 Reasons to Subscribe to My Channel, and I will put a link to that video down in the description below, you should know by now that I like to do a monthly live stream. I have been doing these for almost a year now. I started them in July of 2019, I believe. And I've been doing them every month. And every once in a while, I've thrown in a bonus live stream. But basically, I've gotten down to a once a month schedule with my live streams. And I usually like to frame them around some kind of topic. And I thought of something this morning when I woke up. And funny story, thanks for joining, everybody. I actually had a dream right before I woke up. I'm a very vivid dreamer. I have a lot of dreams. I have dreams all the time. So I had a dream right before I woke up that Megan and Ben and I, my son and my daughter and I, for some reason Andrew wasn't with us, but anyway, we're taking a gondola ride in Germany. Go figure. It was very specific in the dream that we were in Germany and we were riding this gondola. So I'm sure there are gondola rides somewhere in Germany. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, that's what we were doing in the dream. And when I woke up from this dream this morning, a thought occurred to me. And that is the Disney Skyliner at Walt Disney World. Has anybody who's watching this video ridden the Disney Skyliner yet? We have not. Because when we were at Disney World last year in March of 2019, it was finished, but they were testing it. And if you go back and watch my vlog, it's in a couple of vlogs. I did a little standalone video where I talked about the severe reflectiveness off the outside of the Skyliner and how I was concerned it would be distracting to people who were driving. And then that was just a little quick short video. And then if you look at our videos when we went to Hollywood Studios, I show them testing the Skyliner in those vlogs. And they were still, most of them were still wrapped and everything. So we didn't get a chance to ride the Skyliner when we were there because it wasn't open yet. I don't think it opened till late summer, August, September of last year. It hasn't been open very long. And now, of course, it's been closed for the last couple of months since Disney World has been closed. And that got me thinking about something, which is, I wonder if they're going to be able to reopen the Skyliner when they reopen Disney World. And that got me thinking, what about all of the transportation options at Disney World? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. If you're not aware, for a period of a few months, a couple months at least, all Disney parks, theme parks in the entire world were closed, okay? One Disney theme park has, yeah, no problem, Shadow. Shadow just finished filming his 1,500 subscriber Q&A video. Right before I went live with this. I was actually waiting for him to finish that before I went live, and he is now editing it, so he probably won't be participating in the live, but that's okay. And I need to mention something. Shadow mentions this in that video, and that video will be up when, Shadow? Later today? Later today. We're also going to be filming our May Universal Yums video today, so that will be up tomorrow. So be sure to watch for that if you're a fan of our Universal Yums videos. And yeah, we have lots of filming going on today. So something Shadow mentioned that I want to mention right away. I need to ask you guys a favor. Everyone watching this video, I have two favors to ask you. The first is, please give this video a thumbs up. Give this video a like, because that really does help out the channel. It tells YouTube to suggest the video to other people, and the more video that it suggests, the more people that it suggests the video to, the more people that will watch it, and the more my channel will grow. Which brings me to my second favor that I need to ask you. Please, 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 please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. Please click on the subscribe button down below and subscribe to my channel. And there's a not so selfish reason I'm asking for this. As I just mentioned, Shadow, who is my son, now has he has over 1,500 subscribers on his channel. YouTube has actually already started showing ads on a few of his videos. The only people making money off of that is YouTube, because he cannot get monetized. He cannot get an AdSense account because he's under 18. If you are under 18, according to YouTube's rules, the only way you can get monetized, your channel can get monetized, is if you link it to a parent's channel that is also monetized. So I can't get an AdSense account either because I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet. My channel is almost 2 years old and I still don't have 1,000 subscribers. It has grown quite a bit in the last year. I've been really, really happy with the growth. It's been slow but steady, but it would really be awesome if we could get to that 1,000 subscribers. I'm not having any trouble with my watch hours. Watch hours is not a problem. But I mean, that doesn't mean I don't want you to watch the videos. Definitely watch the videos. But I need that 1,000 subscribers. So not only can I get monetized, but so Shadow can get monetized, because he can't get monetized until I do. So please help both our channels out, especially in this difficult time during the pandemic, because I am out of work because of the pandemic. I worked at a school and the school is closed. So I have no work, and I'm not a salaried. I was part-time, so I'm not on salary. I was a per diem teacher, so I only get paid on the days that I work. So, and I have not gotten any unemployment. Don't ask me. I don't know why. Millions and millions of Americans are not getting unemployment that should be. So I don't know what's going on with that. If the systems are just overburdened or what's going on. But anyway, so that would really help us out. I realize that starting out, it's not going to be that much money, but it would really help our family out. And I really feel badly for Shadow that he puts so much time and effort and work into his channel. His channel is amazing. If you have not checked it out, be sure to go check out Shadow Star Plays. I will link that in the description below too, after I finish this live stream. And I just feel bad that he can't get the benefit of the monetization for his channel because of me. So please subscribe to my channel. Please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for doing those two things for me. Okay, so back to Disney's little issue. So all the Disney parks were closed. Disney Cruise Line is shut down at least through the end of July. And you may have seen in the news that Shanghai Disneyland in China has now reopened. They reopened on Monday, May 11th, with extreme restrictions. Okay, so you may have seen some footage. If you follow me on Twitter, I actually posted a video about this that they put on YouTube, Shanghai Disneyland put on YouTube before they reopened, showing what everything was going to be like. They used cast members to film it and everything. Bye, Pink Fishy. Thanks for joining. And so, sorry, I get distracted by the chat and then I forget what I'm talking about. And that was a really interesting video. And then I saw another video, I think it was CNN, did it yesterday. It was like a 10-minute long video where one of the CNN correspondents actually went to Shanghai Disneyland and went all around and showed what the park was like now that it's open. They started out at, I think it was 30% capacity, so greatly reduced capacity. They implemented a lot of social distancing stuff in the queues and in the restaurants and everything. Everybody's required to wear masks. All the cast members, all the guests, everyone's required to wear masks. And you have to have your temperature checked when you come in. And in China, and I have seen some other countries have something like this too. I think Iceland does. They have a special app on their phones that updates daily, showing, and you're either green, yellow, or red. And it's if you are at no or low risk or moderate risk or high risk of being infected with the virus. And so their app has to be green or they can't get in. And then they also it was all reservation only. So you had to buy your tickets in advance. You couldn't like walk up and buy tickets. And I think they were for timed entry. So they had all these things. And it's very interesting to see what they're doing there, because that's probably very similar to what they're going to be doing in the other parks around the world. So if you're not aware, the other Disney parks, theme parks, are Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea in Japan. Although if you didn't know this, that's not actually owned by Disney. and Hong Kong Disneyland in Hong Kong, Disneyland Paris outside of Paris, France, Walt Disney World in Florida, which is 4 theme parks in itself and 2 water parks, and Disneyland in California, which is 2, Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. So all the rest of those are still closed. Okay. Disneyland in California has a unique issue right now because they cannot open because California is being, particularly Southern California, is being particularly strict with the stay-at-home measures. I didn't see for sure it was put into effect, but the news I saw was that Los Angeles County was going to extend their stay-at-home order for 3 more months. So that would take it all the way through the summer. I don't think Disneyland is in Los Angeles County. Is it in Orange County? I gotta look that up. If you know if you're in the chat and you know what, or somebody look it up for me quick. What county is Disneyland actually in? It's in Anaheim, but it's really close to Orange County, but I'm not sure if it's in Orange County. But anyway, it just makes it difficult for them because a very large proportion of people who attend Disneyland are annual pass holders who live in the Los Angeles area. So if a lot of the people in Los Angeles are still supposed to be staying home all the time, well, they're not going to be going to Disneyland. The other thing is a lot of the places in Southern California still, or California as a whole, have restrictions on sizes of groups that can gather. Like, it can't be more than 10 people or whatever. Well, obviously, if you go into a theme park, that's way more than 10 people. So they can't open just because of that. So I almost think that Disneyland in California, of all the Disney theme parks worldwide, quite possibly maybe the very last one to reopen. So that's just something to think about. And that's it. That's kind of important to us. If you watched my video not too long ago where we talked about things we're looking forward to after the pandemic, one of the things that we mentioned was going to Disneyland in California, because the last time we went, my kids, well, Andrew was like 15 years old, but the other 2 kids were very little. And so it's been a long time since we've been there, and at least 8 years. Yeah. And so we really want to get back to Disneyland. I would say that going to Disneyland in California is a higher priority for us than going back to Disney World in Orlando, because we've been to Disney World in Florida twice since the last time we went to Disneyland in California. The other parks, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Paris, it's going to depend. I mean, that's 3 different countries. So Hong Kong is technically China. And so that one might open a little sooner if things go well in Shanghai. Tokyo is hard to say. Paris, I think, was hoping that they could reopen this summer. But I don't know. France is still really struggling with the pandemic too. So we'll have to just kind of watch and see. If you've been following the news with Walt Disney World in Florida, they keep canceling people's reservations, okay? And they keep saying to people in like news announcements and stuff, just because we're taking reservations for this date, and they mean like reservations for hotels and dining, okay? They keep saying just because we're taking reservations for this date does not mean we're going to be open on that date. And they've proven this to be true because, for a while they were taking reservations for May. Well, then they canceled everybody's reservations in May. And then for a while they were taking reservations for June, and now they've canceled everybody's reservations in June. So, and even though you may have seen on the news that Disney Springs opened, okay, 2 things about that. I really don't like it when the media says, because a few non-Disney owned restaurants at Disney Springs, it's important to note, have opened, they say Disney World is open. Okay, first of all, yeah, technically Disney Springs is part of the Disney World complex, but I don't consider that a theme park, do you? I mean, yeah, it's a restaurant and shopping district is what it is. There's no rides there. You do have the Void and the balloon that you can go up and down, and you can ride the boat cars, the amphicars at the boathouse. Yeah, but I mean, well, there's the NBA experience. You can go, well, but you can't because none of that stuff that I just mentioned is open. So, but what I'm saying is it's not rides, it's not attractions. You don't have to pay to get into Disney Springs. It's not a theme park. So it's a shopping and dining and entertainment district. And so I don't really consider that technically part of, I mean, it is technically part of Disney World, but it's not, because a lot of the businesses that are in Disney Springs are not owned by Disney. And if they want to independently decide they're going to open, Disney doesn't really have it much. I mean, I guess they do have to say it's okay, but they don't have anything to say about that. Disney isn't opening any of its own stuff at Disney Springs yet. I think I read that they're going to be opening some of their things at Disney Springs like the day after Memorial Day, I think is when they were planning on doing that. But anyway, along with the 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, Disney Springs Shopping, Dining, and Entertainment District, and over 25 on-site hotels, there is another very big component to Walt Disney World that is unique to Walt Disney World in Florida, and that is their extensive transportation system. Okay, here's the thing that's kind of different about Walt Disney World compared to all the other Disney theme parks around the world. As I said a little bit ago, Disneyland, a very large majority of their people who attend Disneyland, visit Disneyland, are annual pass holders or people who live in the immediate area in Southern California. That is also true of Disneyland Paris and all the Disney parks in Asia. Most of the guests that come to all of those parks tend to be more local or at least regional. So most of the people that go to Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland live in China. Most of the people who go to Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea live in Japan, or they live somewhere else in Asia nearby. Most of the people who go to Disneyland Paris live in France or the UK or somewhere nearby in Europe, Belgium, Spain, whatever. Okay. These are not, you don't hear a lot about people making big international destination trips just to go to Disneyland Paris. People definitely do it. We're thinking about doing it. We want to go to Tokyo Disney and Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. That's on our wish list. But that's not common. You don't hear a lot about people super Disney fans do it. Yeah, for sure. But families aren't like, oh yeah, let's go to Tokyo Disney for our family vacation this year. That's just not, you just don't hear that very often. If people in America, for example, in the United States are going to go to Disney, they're going to go to Disney World in Florida. And not only are people in the United States and Canada, it's very popular among Canadians, going to go to Disney World in Florida, but a lot of people in the rest of the world are going to go to Disney World in Florida. And a little note about that, I will tell you something else. Do you know who I noticed a big percentage of people when we were last at Disneyland in California? Japanese citizens. There were a ton of people from Japan visiting Disneyland in California the last time we were there. So people who are, that's maybe one of their next closest parks. If they don't want to go to China, and they probably do visit the Chinese parks too. They will fly across the Pacific and come to Disneyland. But you will see so many visitors and so many tourists at Walt Disney World from other countries. I have mentioned in the past, I don't know what video it was, my son Andrew, when we were at Disney World in 2015, which was his senior year of high school before he went to college, he talked to everyone that we came in contact with. He talked to people on the bus, and he talked to people he was standing next to in line for rides, and he talked to people he was sitting by in the rides, and he talked to the serving staff, and he talked to everybody. And he asked everybody where they were from, and he kept track. And I have to ask him if he still has that. I don't think he was keeping track on his phone, and I know that the phone he was keeping track on then is not the same phone he has now, but sorry. I want to say he got people from like 35 states and 15 different countries. And I do remember that the particular week we were there, We heard a lot of French being spoken. And Andrew had just gone to France the year before, and his French was quite good. And he was asking all these people in French and having conversations in French with these people. Where are you from? And you know what was funny? None of them were from France. They were all from Quebec in Canada, because it was Quebec's break, like their winter break happened to be that week, like the whole province or something. And there were just tons of people from Quebec and Canada that were at Disney World that week. So anyway, my point is Disney World is kind of unique in that its visitors really come from all over the world. They come from all over the United States. They come from all over Canada. They come from countries all over the world. They come from tons of people. You will hear all the time, if you know anybody in the UK, it is extremely common for people in the UK to book 2-week trips to Disney World. Nobody in the US does that. You know why? Because we don't have enough vacation time. But anyway, they have tons of vacation time in Europe. They have way better benefits in Europe at their jobs than we do here in the United States. And so they have all this vacation time. So it is not uncommon at all for people in Europe and the UK to come over to Disney World and spend 2-3 weeks there, which would be so nice because there's so much to do. But so you don't hear about people from the United States doing that, but they do that all the time. So many of the visitors at Walt Disney World are from other countries. So Disney World in Florida is quite unique from the other Disney theme parks around the world in where it's drawing its people from. The other thing that's different about it is it's huge. It's so big. It's like the size of San Francisco. And so they need, because of these two things, because it's so big and because so many of their visitors are flying into Florida from far away, they have developed something different at Walt Disney World that you don't find at the other parks. And that is this very extensive transportation system, this very well-developed internal Walt Disney World transportation system. Now, Disneyland in California has a monorail. It doesn't really go anywhere. It takes you from downtown Disney. It's not that, it doesn't really, it's not a great, it's more like an attraction than it is like a real helpful transportation option. Tokyo Disneyland has a monorail that is helpful because it makes a loop around the area hotels. And so if you're staying at like the Hilton or whatever near Disneyland, you're going to have to take the monorail, but it's an extra charge. It's not included. So you actually have to pay to use the monorail at Tokyo Disneyland to get around, and it does take you to the parks. And then in Disneyland Paris, there's the trains, and a lot of people that are staying technically off property at Disneyland Paris are taking the train daily to get to the parks. So like if you're staying in Val d'Europe or something like that, you're going to be taking the train, and that's going to be an extra charge, but there's no monorail or anything there. So Walt Disney World, though, has this extensive transportation system, and if I haven't mentioned it already, I made a video a while back, which I will also link in the description below, about all the different ways that you can get around Walt Disney World. And there's a lot, okay? And here is the problem. Included among those Walt Disney World transportation options are the monorail, which goes around the Magic Kingdom Resort loop, connects Magic Kingdom to Epcot. So there's 2 loops. And then you have the ferry boats, which take you back and forth from the Transportation and Ticket Center to Magic Kingdom. You have a whole bunch of other boats, the friendship boats that take you all sorts of places, which I talk about in detail in that video. You have the new Disney Skyliner, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. You have lots and lots and lots of buses. And you have the Disney minivans, which is like a rideshare service like Uber or Lyft, but it's Disney owned and the drivers are Disney employees. Okay, so what do all those things have in common? They are small, enclosed spaces. Now, I have seen tons of stuff online about what Disney is going to have to do to reopen the theme parks. And I've seen to a lesser extent, I can find news articles about what hotels are going to have to do to reopen. I have not seen anything about Disney World transportation. Nothing, not a peep. If somebody's seen something, let me know. But I have not seen anything about Walt Disney World transportation. And I am really wondering if all those transportation things are going to reopen when the theme parks open. Because that's a whole nother beast. You know, they have enough issues with social distancing and health checks and screenings and reduced capacity and everything in the parks themselves. But how are they going to handle that with the transportation? How do you have social distancing on a bus? How do you have social distancing? I mean, I guess with the Skyliner, one thing is they can very easily put only your party, your family or whatever, into a gondola car. Okay. But are they going to sanitize each gondola car between each ride? That is a continuously moving system. How are they going to do that? And for kind of a way for you to see that, I'll also link in the description below. Look at our video when we rode the gondola at Lutsen Mountain, Minnesota last October. It's the exact same system built by the exact same company, Doppelmayr, that built the gondola for the Skyliner at Disney World. And it works exactly the same. And you'll see what I mean. It is continuously moving. Snowed. It was early October, but it had snowed. It's quite near the Canadian border. And the guy was having to step into the cars, into the gondola cars, and quickly brush out the snow so people could go in and sit on the benches because they had snow on them. And he was having to do that really quickly, go in and out while they were moving. They do have the ability to stop the gondola cars, but the way it works at Disney World is that actually they pull those cars off the main line. Like if they need to load someone in a wheelchair or with special needs or something, they pull those cars off the line and have a separate place so they can stop it. And then they let the people get on and off, and then they put it back into the line and it keeps moving. But as a general rule, the gondola system never stops moving. It does stop moving sometimes for short periods, but it's generally basically keeps moving. So I don't really see a way that you would have for cast members to get in and out and sterilize that in between. Same thing with the monorails. Those monorails are going constantly. Small enclosed space. If you've been on the Disney World monorail, you're packed in those things. Sometimes lots of people are standing, people are sitting on the benches, and each individual monorail car, if you will, is a small individual space. That's a small enclosed space. They do know, if you've been following the pandemic at all, small enclosed spaces, interior spaces with lots of different people is the worst place to be. Okay, that's why things like church services and movie theaters are so dangerous, or funerals or birthday parties or weddings, because they're inside. Well, an indoor wedding, they're inside, and you have lots of different groups of people from different households gathered together in an enclosed interior space. And that's the worst possible place you can be. That's why things like theaters are going to be the last thing to open, because they're considered like viral super spreaders, those locations. So when you think about these transportation options, the enclosed gondola cars, now you can open those vents. And I don't know if maybe the airflow through there might help with that a little, but I still feel like, especially kids, people are going to be touching the vent or the benches and stuff. I don't know. And then the monorail is really bad because there's not really any airflow in there at all. The buses, they pack those buses so full of people. Now, obviously with reduced capacity, maybe that's not going to be as much of a problem, but they're not going to do that forever. So those buses really concern me. And they're not going to go through and sterilize every seat, are they? And every handrail and every the things where you hold on if you have to stand? Are they going to go through and sterilize every single one of those on every bus between every trip? happening. And then the minivans, I guess, would be less of a problem because you'd only have your family group in the minivan at one time. You would have the driver, but I'm kind of guessing probably the driver would wear a mask. And I suppose technically since they're kind of like an on-call system, the driver could go in and kind of sterilize the touch points in the back of the minivan where people sat between rides. So that's possible. But the boats, again, the ferry boat, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with hundreds of people on it all day long, touching everything. It's outside. Some of it is outside. It's, it's got good airflow, but there's handrails everywhere and stuff that people are going to be touching. So what do you guys think about this? I just thought of this morning, that those transportation options at Disney World are really going to be problematic. And one thing is, I have heard that it's quite possible that Walt Disney World in Florida will initially open only to annual pass holders or possibly only to Florida residents. So if that's the case, it's fairly likely that most of those people are going to come in their own car. And if you come in your own car, well, that eliminates that whole problem. Lots of people do come in their own car to Walt Disney World, but I'd have to look up statistics, but I think that the majority of people who come to Walt Disney World do not have a car. That most of them are using Disney's internal transportation system. They're flying in, they're using the Disney's Magical Express complimentary bus transportation from the airport, and then they're using the Disney buses, the Monorail, the Skyliner, the minivans, the boats while they're there. That's what we usually do. We're flying from Minneapolis, and I don't want to rent a car. We have rented a car in the past, not since though I've gone with my dad. And if you really want to have like control and stuff, but renting a car gets expensive. Even if you're staying off site, I've run the numbers. And when you factor in the cost of a rental car plus having to buy gas, plus the parking to park at Walt Disney World, even if you stay on site, when you stayed on site in the past, Disney World parking at the resorts used to be free. But a couple years ago, they started charging for you to park at the resorts too. However, if you're staying at an on-site resort, then you don't have to park at the theme parks. But no matter what, they're going to get you on parking. So if you're coming in a car, they're going to get you on parking. And either they're charging you for parking at the theme parks or they're charging you for parking at the resort. So whether you're staying on-site or off or coming from home, you're going to be paying for parking no matter what. So if you want to avoid the additional expense of having a vehicle on Walt Disney World property, the only way to avoid that is to use Walt Disney World's complimentary transportation, which is an awesome system, and you definitely do not need a car, but it does present some problems when we think about the pandemic. So what are you guys' thoughts about this? I'm just curious what you think. And that's about all I have to say about that. I just wanted to put that out there and see what everybody thinks about that. Does anybody have any questions, or how's everybody doing? Give me a hi and say where you're joining us from in the chat. There's at least a few people watching. Like, hi from Tennessee or wherever you are. Anyone? Does anybody else have spring allergies? My eyes keep watering. Yes. Anybody joining from far away? Does anyone have any questions or thoughts or comments about what I talked about today with Disney World? Well, it'll be interesting to watch and see. I mean, I definitely don't think Disney World's going to open before the latter half of this summer, if then. So we still have a couple months to see what they decide to do. And I really do wonder if they are wrestling with it too. Hi, Don. Thanks for joining. Oh, long editing day ahead, Shadow. He filmed that this morning, if you didn't hear, and he's editing it now. So I really wonder if they are struggling with the transportation at Walt Disney World, and if it's going to be, if a lot of those things are going to still be closed when Walt Disney World reopens. I'm very curious about this. So I'd really like to know your thoughts. If you're watching this video after it was live, again, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, give me a like. It helps the video out, it helps the channel. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please be sure to do that. And leave your comments about what we talked about today in the comments below, and leave your questions in the comments below. I always answer everybody's questions that they leave in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone, and safe travels.